Hi everybody, what we're going to do today is something super fun. We are going to use coffee filters and some water, and we're going to talk about symmetry. So it's kind of like what we were working on last week. We're still talking about symmetry because symmetry is all around us and it's really cool. So when you're doing this work, if you don't have a tray like this, just use like a baking sheet or like a casserole pan or something. But it's nice, especially whenever we're doing something with water, we got to make sure that that our surfaces are protected. If you don't have a spray bottle, that's okay. You could use something like this, which is just a foam brush, or even a kitchen sponge. And then, you know, if you just have like a little bit of water, that'll work too. But right now we're just going to use one coffee filter. In a minute, I'm going to show you a cool thing to use two coffee filters, but this is what we're going to do. And so the first thing you do is you are going to flatten out your coffee filter. It's a little hard sometimes because you see, even like I can have it like that and it kind of puffs up a little bit. That is okay, because what we're going to do for this one is we are going to fold this guy in half. And so when we're working on it, if it's popping up like this, if that's too hard, you can try doing it the other way. Sometimes that works. I think this way works a lot better. And you don't know which way is the right way until you fold it. But, you know, take some time to smooth it. It's still going to pop up a little bit, but when you're working on it, it should be all right. So I have my coffee filter and I have my markers. A lot of times when I'm working with markers, I like to keep them on some sort of cloth so that they don't roll all over. And all I'm going to do to start is I'm just going to make some interesting patterns and designs. I don't exactly know what I'm doing. Like, I don't exactly know what it's going to look like, but that's kind of the fun. Coffee filters take to markers really well, which is kind of fun in a project like this. You'll also notice what I'm doing is I am trying to make, for this one at least, I'm trying to make a symmetrical pattern. I think it will look cool, and it's a nice, it's nice to do this, especially since we were talking about symmetry last week. Now we're going to use that same idea about symmetry in some patterns. If they aren't exact, that's okay. I don't think anybody's going to call the symmetry police on us if we goof a little bit. What else? Ooh, could do some more blue. That looks pretty cool, doesn't it? You know, and if you know, once you're all done, if you're just like, oh, I want to put a little something here or there, you know, that's all right. So now I'm going to bring my tray into the picture, and I'm going to put this, my coffee filter in the tray. So now I have my spray bottle, and I'm going to spray this. I'm not going to spray it too much. You know, we're gonna, it's just enough to get the water through both sides of the coffee filter. And you'll notice this is the back of the coffee filter. This is really thin paper. So, you know, you're gonna see stuff like this on the other side. That is absolutely okay. And actually, we almost prefer it. So when I spray this, I'm not gonna spray too much, but enough. And if you have another piece of paper around, even if it's just like a scratch piece of paper, what you want to do, because we want to let this dry, got to be careful about pulling it out. And you might want to ask your grown-up for some help getting these two papers or getting this coffee filter undone. But right away, you want to unfold it and you want to set it out to dry. Now we're gonna let this dry and see what it looks like in a little bit. I mean, it's pretty cool, right? All right, we'll check that in a little bit. Let's see what happens if we try that in reverse order. So I have my coffee filter in the tray and I have it folded, and I'm gonna put a little bit of water on here, really just enough. And before I do any work, I'm taking a piece of paper towel and I'm kind of blotting it. This is really an experiment. I think I know what's gonna happen, but you know, I guess artists were kind of scientists too. So I have my coffee filter in here. There's a couple dry spots on here and I want it to be all wet. And I should say, I want it to be, you know, just kind of damp. I don't want it to be soaking wet. That's why I'm using this, this paper towel as sort of a blotter. I'm using my eyes to check the difference, to see if there's any dry spots and wet versus wet spots. It's, you know, you can kind of see what, when paper is wet, you can see where it's wet if you can also see where the dry spots are. So I'm just kind of making up a cool pattern. The other reason why you don't want the coffee filter like soaking wet, why you kind of need to use a paper towel to blot it off, is because with these kind of markers, it's okay if the paper is a little wet, but you couldn't draw on something where it's soaking. It would ruin the marker. But I think if it's just a little damp, it should be okay. This technique is also fun if your art space where you're working is far away from a sink, and you don't have a spray bottle, and you just need a way to get your coffee filter wet and then bring it someplace else. But again, with this technique, as with everything that we do in art, we always got to double check with our grown-ups that it's cool. You know, whether we're using a supply, like from somewhere in our house, or if wherever we're working, it's always just good to double check, because we don't always know. We don't always know. You know, somebody might have plans for, like if you're using a casserole pan to work in. What about, like, you know, your mom or dad or grandma or auntie is planning to make something really awesome for dinner, and if you didn't know before, you know, you started working, and then you don't get an awesome dinner because you used it for art. So it's always, you know, it's always good to double check. I don't really know what I'm doing, and I don't even know exactly if it's going to work, but it's still worth a shot to check. So remember, I drew on half of it. The other half of the coffee filter is folded underneath this. You guys, Look at this. It's a whole thing. I made a whole thing by just drawing on half of it. It's soaked through. How cool is that? Here, let me put it on this piece of paper so you can see it a little bit easier. Wow, that looks super fun. That is awesome. I cannot wait to see what you guys come up with. Okay, for the next one, I have 2 coffee filters, just like this. And I'm gonna work with them dry, and I'm gonna draw a whole pattern on here. I think I'm actually gonna start in the middle. I'm gonna do a rainbow pattern and work its way out. So let's see what that looks like. Okay, so now we have this design, and remember, it doesn't have to be exactly like this. You can make any sort of design. I just thought it would look cool coloring in the whole thing. But so I have, it's all drawn on this side. You can see it a little bit coming through, which is good. We want that. Now I'm gonna put this in my tray, and with my spray bottle, I am going to spray this. And you can already see some of the colors blending. It looks really cool. It looks like tie-dye. So this part is a little tricky, and I have a sheet of I have a sheet of paper that I'm going to use to dry these on. It doesn't, you know, you could use anything. You can use paper towel. You can use old newspapers. Doesn't matter. Just something to dry it on. And, you know, it's cool. Look at this. It's already coming through. I have 2 things that are colored the same. And now I just got to let these dry. And then I'm going to show you even another cooler thing to do with this. So now these have, I waited for these to dry. And with each one of my coffee filters, I'm going to do what is called an accordion fold. So you see how I just folded that up like that? That's great. And then once this is done, you flip it over and you fold it back. Press it, fold, back. Press, or yeah, press, fold, flip it. Sometimes you have to put your thing down, press it, and reverse it. So now it looks like this. It's called an accordion fold because of this sort of fan pattern. So now I have both of these. So I have 2. I folded this off camera. So now I have these 2, and I'm going to push them. I'm going to hold them together just like this. So you see I have one here, and I'm holding it. Now for the fun part, I've got myself some pipe cleaner. And I am going to, it's a little tricky. Sometimes it's, ideally you have somebody in your house that you can bother to have them help you hold it. And I'm just gonna kind of go like this. It doesn't really matter how you hold it on, but what you want is you want these 2 things right here, and then you have this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start to poof it out. Poof it out and poof it out. You know, because these are coffee filters, you have to, they're pretty delicate because they're so thin. So you do have to be kind of mindful. I don't know if I did the coolest job right there, but if I go like that, look at that, you guys. We got some butterflies. How pretty is that? It's just a cool thing. I love it. I love a butterfly coffee filter. It's a work of art. Look at that. Sometimes when you're doing this project, some just don't work out. And that's okay. Sometimes when you're using materials for an art project that aren't meant for an art project, sometimes there can be some goofs. But we don't mind goofs. We like to turn things, we call that in the business a happy accident. Because now we have something that still has a bit of color. It didn't turn out exactly how I wanted it to, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fold this like this. I'm gonna fold it again like this. And I'm gonna fold it again like this. And now what I can do is, I'm just gonna kind of experiment around. I'm gonna see what happens if I make little cuts. Remember, you were about to throw this away. This is a mistake that you didn't like. So why not, before you throw it away, take some chances. See if you can turn it into something cool. If you don't feel comfortable using scissors, that's okay. Maybe you could ask your grown-up to help you, and you can sort of be the director and they can be the cutter. I'm just making little snips because I don't exactly know how this is going to look. Let's snip off. Let's go like that too. Sometimes I don't get all of them, so I'm just carefully pulling them. That's all right. And let's do some up here. We're almost done, guys. This is gonna be so cool. I think it's gonna be cool. So let's see what happens when I unfold this. Again, be really careful because this paper is delicate. Oh my gosh, you guys, look at this. How cool is that? I turned something that I was gonna throw away because it was a mistake, but instead I turned it into something super awesome.